You see the client.
Our podcast series, Welcome to the Future, starts now.
What's up, everybody? It's Leo here. We're back again for another episode of Welcome to the Future. And on today's episode, we have a few special guests sitting in with us. I just put 3 fingers up, but you'll see who the guests are in a few moments. But starting off, before we get into our special guests, I have to introduce my co-host today, Mr. Londo, Masterman, who you will speak with if you haven't already. He runs our operations, so he's a little bit on digital, he's a little bit on sales, he's a little bit on operations, but he makes sure that the ship is still steering and is tight here. So, Londo.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
This is your first one here, right? It's your first one in the room, right?
That's right.
You've watched a couple, but now you're in the hot seat.
Happy to be here, and this is my time to be here, right here.
It's the perfect one, right? You kind of get to cheat the line. It's like you haven't done it, and the first one you get is with these two. It's like, man,
I'll take it.
Last but certainly not least, I have to introduce our 2 special guests, hailing from Detroit, Michigan. They are of Primitiv Cannabis Group in Weberville, Michigan. First starting out, we have the Hall of Famer, 2021 Hall of Famer, Mr. Calvin Johnson. He is a former wide receiver of the Detroit Lions. He is a home native of Detroit. We also have Mr. Rob Sims, who is also sitting in with us, who comes from the Seattle Seahawks, 2006 draft pick. Yep. 2006 draft pick from the Seattle Seahawks, and 2010 Detroit Lions, which is how, we came about of having Primitiv. We'll get into that. But gentlemen, have to introduce you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for coming, man. It's a pleasure. Definitely a long shot from the first episode. We have our ideas of what we want and kind of how we see things to be. And of course, that was before the partnership with you guys. So to see it all come full circle, host you guys here, and it's a great thing. So thank you. We appreciate it.
Most definitely. Things have evolved.
Yeah, definitely, right?
Right?
Pretty quickly.
Whether you're talking about the industry, what we're doing here, I can't wait to hear more about your guys' story. I've read it on paper, but to hear from you guys, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Well, first starting off, how was the flight here? You guys got in, Tuesday night, right? Tuesday morning for you, and then Tuesday evening.
Yep. Right. Yeah, it was a smooth flight. Nothing. I slept the whole way. It was great for us just to get away. The wife and I, to leave the kids at home. Yeah. Just not have that responsibility for a little while.
True. For sure.
No, definitely, man. Just getting out of the office for a couple of days. Getting here and chill a little bit. Check out the convention, man. It's been great. So
still work, but a different form of work, different leg of work, right?
Take it any day.
Nice. Yep. Now, have you guys done MJ Biz before, or is this your first?
This is my second year being here.
Right. Okay.
Yep, I've been here once before.
Okay.
Cool. Before the pandemic, but it's been a great experience. The convention's really grown.
Yeah, it's massive this year. I mean, of course, everybody was really worried about post-pandemic and what it would look like, but so far, it's our booth has been busy. So for those of you who have stopped by booth 627, by the time you watch this episode, we certainly appreciate your support, your love. We had a happy hour, so hopefully for next year, next trade show season, you do stop by. Stay tuned to our socials and our website for that information. But without further ado, let's hop into it. Okay, so here we are. We got to meet you guys in, I think, June or July when Tom and some of the digital team came to Weberville. Let's start with Cannabis. Let's start with Primitiv. Where did it begin? How did the whole cannabis brand for both of you collectively and separately begin?
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I got out of the league. 2014 was my last year. I was really into entrepreneurship and really wanted to be an entrepreneur my whole life, even more than playing football, really. So I actually purchased a title company. I was really into real estate. I'm still part of the group that owns the naming rights for Remax in southeastern Michigan. I really just got into flipping houses and real estate in general, right? I just found my niche there. As investing goes, right, you look for other people that can help you invest and go farther. And I started reaching back to my teammates. And was able to meet. Obviously, me and Cal always had a good work relationship on the field, and we were just able to bring that into the field, and we invested in some deals while he was still playing, and after that, it kind of kept growing, and cannabis real estate was really taking a new shape, and had an opportunity that really only Calvin really was somebody that could really take it on and help it really come to life, and we did that. And, we got into real estate, and then the brand came, and then operating the business came, and a whole bunch of other things that were very ambitious, and it's been good to see it kind of all unfold.
What was the timeline for that? I know you mentioned 2014. Then what was the timeline from you guys coming together, and then obviously real estate, then going into Primitiv?
So probably the 2017 is when we really started doing most of the work together. and really started planning Primitiv and going through licensing in 2018. And man, you look back on it now, we got a 50-person team, and we've done so much, but so much more to do. But yeah, it's been four or five strong years we've been planning this.
Nice. You guys hit it out the gate hard. I mean, Calvin, what about you? I mean, knowing, obviously, with you both coming from the NFL, being athletes, there's already a stigma and an association with cannabis already. But what was that process for you? Obviously, with Rob approaching you, you guys deciding to join forces.
Yeah, for sure. Coming out the league, I knew for myself, I wanted to, be an entrepreneur, but real estate was the first little thing that, that was, tangible for me, something that I could see. So I had a property or two I was playing. Rob was doing his thing, so we joined forces and did some projects there. And, from the cannabis space, we were doing our projects on real estate and, the quote unquote green zones where you could do, cultivation, processing, retail. And, some of those spaces started to come online, and, we were able to get involved with one. And from that point on, I mean, really the rest is history, but, we decided to, not just be a landlord here, actually put a team together. We knew what a good team looks like. And, from that point, went on to build like up to like close to a 50-person team now. We've, become vertical. That's the biggest thing for us, I feel like, over the last year, just being able to get that whole vertical all the way up and running as it should. And we're able to operate the business, as we visualize. And now we're able to move on and focus our attention on bigger things.
Right. Well, Londo, the question I have for you is, obviously we're listening to this. We have a team here in-house, right? Family bred, family blood, and then you also have to consider their collaboration and their teamwork on the field. How did that come into play with you guys successfully launching the business? Obviously, trust has to be involved, belief and just overall relationship, right? To ensure that you can execute it properly. How was that for you guys?
I think for me, just like FŌHSE is, right? I think the refreshing thing for me is seeing another group that is so family oriented, right? And everybody has a history together and everybody has trust together. And I think I always thought entrepreneurship and players together, like we know on the field, we know how to win together, we know how to lose together, we know how to get through hurdles together, obstacles together. So why isn't that a trait we could take out of football and put into business?
100%.
And that's really what the rally in cry was, right? We really started with a company called Locker Room Consulting that was really about putting different businesses and investment opportunities together for players to come together and invest in, right? Primitiv is really like the beta test for that, right? It's the first thing that we've been able to pop off and get going. And now we're to a point where it's successfully launched where we can bring other people in as opportunities come about. But there's a whole lot of other things that we can achieve because I think what me and Calvin have been able to do together, like, the thought that players working together outside of football and outside on the field is a real dream and really something that could be beneficial.
Most definitely. I mean, yeah, folks can relate to where you guys are coming from. And I was thinking about it right when you started talking. Teammates on the field, bringing that synergy off the field, especially in an industry like this, that teamwork is huge. Like FŌHSE has been family oriented. I know that working on a team, you guys, there's definitely a family orientation to that. So do you guys feel, as you scaled up and you said, now you've built a team upwards of 50 people, are you guys able to maintain that that camaraderie? Do you feel that the team you've built are extensions of that initial impetus, that togetherness that you guys had?
I would definitely say our leaders, our leaders that we have within our team, they're definitely that, they're here with us this weekend, we're able to, have that camaraderie. And as Rob's saying, building those relationships, that where you've been through so much, it makes it easier to work with those kind of people and just to limit the outside variables of other people coming in. I mean, we've dealt with that at the beginning of our company, and now we're starting to realize, it's easier, not that you won't meet new people and new people won't come into your life in different seasons, but just being able to have that familiarity, knowing how people are going to work, knowing what you're going to get out of people, that's a big thing. So being able to build that same kind of relationships that we built on the field, as, we were talking about earlier, you spend more time here with your team here than you honestly do with your actual real family, and we're starting to do that, whether it's either personally or on Zoom calls, we're able to spend that time with our team. And I think that, being out here was great for us as a company because we were able to take our leaders and go and break bread and go hang out and cut loose, and really show a different side other than just being on that call all the time. So just being able to spend that valuable time with the team, it's really like for what you guys are doing, it takes you a long way. There's a lot of trust to be had. And like I said, you know what you're going to get.
It's a lot of trust, and I mean, it's one of those things where it's an uphill battle, but when you're in a battle with the right people, it's not battle. It's more so just another obstacle that you got to overcome to the next one, but with the wrong people, it look like trouble. You're like, whoa, all right, who I got behind me? All right, you may want to regroup. The first thing that I think about, obviously, with you guys having the camaraderie on the floor, on the field, and then bringing that into your business, obviously from the locker room, do you ever bring pressure to your team with their performance? Obviously, you want them to perform well, and you have high expectations, but how has that, the player in you and the competitive side of you, how has that influenced the way that you guys have built such a team and a strong brand?
Yeah. I think if you pull back the curtain, with us, right, you'll see a good culture, right? Very similar to what you guys have here in FŌHSE, right? You walk around here, everybody's smiling, right? Because everybody's locked in, having a good time, and it's really not a job; it's a mission we on, right? To make it work. So, I think our culture and what we set to do. We have an anchor, and that's our vision, mission, and core values, and how we treat people, and how we go about our business, and how we do things. And we come from a place where the head coach is, he is that big figure, right? And football in general and how you are coached, and is different, for the people that have been a part of it, right? So we've kind of taken those principles, but we call it a compassionate accountability. Right, we keeping our people accountable, but we try to do it in a certain way, right, and do it in a certain way so they do feel like family. But at the same time, like we on a mission, like we got to get this work done, like period. So,
right.
We walk that line, right. We got to have what we call them essential conversations, and we have a lot of them. A lot of them.
Yeah, they're necessary.
But they're necessary to have, man. And I think you don't see it in the beginning, right? You feel like it's a big risk to do it like that, and to not be the fire and brimstone every morning. But over time, we've seen the benefits of it and where it is and where it's taken us. So, I think absolutely, man. We're definitely competitors. I mean, there's not many grows or many people I see from a brand point that I don't look and go, okay. I'm coming for you now, right? Exactly, that's just what it is. That's what it would feel like. So, but yeah, man, that's how we've been able to maintain what we have, and the growth that we've been able to see is just because we stand on those principles. Yeah.
Now, how's that bled over to family? I'm sorry, what were we gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say. So, I mean, building on that, so I can appreciate what you're saying. As Primitiv has gotten started, have you guys had that stress test yet, where you felt the team truly has been tested? And
that chuckle
you had to kind of find out. You had to have around to find out.
For test. They won't stop. I mean, we know this industry. You got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to just be solution oriented. I think that's what we've become. And it wasn't like that from the very beginning. But with the team that we've grown with right now and our leaders that we have right now, they've been to a couple of things with us, and they understand. It's not just reveling in the issue, is really finding a solution. So like you say, it's just an obstacle. It's just viewed as an obstacle because we know what our goals are. This is just we're still going from A to B, and then this is not going to stop us from getting from A to B.
And two, competitors keep you on edge. It's a good thing to have competitors because it lets you know how far you've come and how far you got to go. Because now it's how do we perfect and build. The one thing that I would ask you, Calvin, is like obviously with having all of these entities and then being with the Lions and then meeting Rob halfway through your journey, what was that process like with you welcoming another person and then trusting them to carry on your vision like you would carry it? What was that like?
You mean like in the locker room during the playing days?
Yeah, like in the locker room in the playing days, and
like
then how
Rob
that translates. And then how that translates to now with business.
Well, I think that I'll speak to how Rob came in and stuff like that, and how that could translate to business. So coming from another team, I can imagine how difficult that could be coming to a whole different environment. I'm not sure how many people you knew on the team at the time.
Zero.
Yeah. So, you're going into that's a different experience. And I think that, the biggest thing that Rob did, when you come in, you put your head down to work, whether that's on the field, when it's in the weight room, because people paying attention. We looking, we seeing it. You see what's happening on the field. But then I think the bigger thing was, how he approached it off the field. I think the biggest thing that Rob did that brought a lot of camaraderie and love was, he had people over to his house on Fridays. Get haircuts. He got the food. He's on the grill. Just coming over, we chill, we smoke, we drink, whatever you invite. Just have a good time.
Sure,
Watch the game. And just hang out, have a good time, and be there till late, and get up and go to, a little walk through stuff the next morning. But those are times where, the core group of guys would always come together. Those core group, whether it was 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, that were really tight, would be together. And Rob was, an instrumental part of that because he brought everybody together to his house. So I think that just being able to open yourself up like that, being able to open yourself up, open up your family to that, it takes, a level of, you can't be selfish, put it like that. So seeing something like that, it kind of, that's the teammate, that's the kind of person, kind of people as you want to be around, people that want to show love, that want to, do for others.
Then too, being new, I can imagine it's a shell shock because it's like you have such a huge responsibility. And then I'm translating that to business now, cannabis. Of course, as consumers, we enjoy it, but then jumping into such a diverse, demanding, ever-changing industry, that camaraderie is the only thing that you can really depend on when so many external valuables are changing. Trends are changing every day. The technology is changing every day. So the only thing you have is your partners that you lock down with.
Right.
And I was just thinking of how football translates that to business, and then the camaraderie of just a team to execute a goal and consistently execute in a great way.
So it sounds like a lot of the culture you're talking about in Primitiv really started back then. Like you're kind of laying the seeds of the foundation to build that culture and start to bring the people together.
Yeah, man. That's part of my nature, right? Part of my nature is just giving. What can I give you? What can what would I sacrifice? Like I want to show you that, I'll run through a wall for you. I want to show that, right? That's just part of like how I was raised. So yeah, that was part of it, right? It wasn't an end goal saying like, oh, we're gonna go start this cannabis company down here, right? Then it was like, we got to get through Chicago, man.
Right.
Like, come get some ribs, right? Come get some steaks. Let's get a haircut, man. Let's just chill. But I'm just a people person in general, and but that's part of it, man. And I think that's why Kyle's like that too, right? The thing about the invitation is people still got to come show up. Yeah. He was there every week, and we were honored. To be honest with you, at the time, we had the best receiver in history showing up at our house. Everything. And we didn't take that for granted, and we just let it build from there. There's other guys that I see down the road that are going to come into the fold very quickly for Primitiv. That those same guys were at that Friday nights. You know what I mean? It's crazy to see it come back full circle and see it coming together, but it's happening.
It's building a trusted network of individuals too, because the one thing we do, obviously, that's how we came into business with you all, with trusted advisors and people that are doing what they do and do it exceptionally well. But you partner with people who have the vision for what's ahead.
Yep.
So hearing the stories, it's no mistake in how our teams are close. It started with what we do with fixtures and LED, but just learning about how all of this is translated into how you guys have created Primitiv is massive, because it kind of shows the pillars of what you do.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to go to Primitiv, the name.
Yep.
Who came up with it? The first day? When did it click? Like, ding! What was that whole?
It didn't click at first.
Okay. What was it at first? Did you have a different name, or did you switch to Primitiv?
No, it's Primitiv, just the spelling and the logo, and think that there's still some figuring out going on at the very beginning stages of it, before we got it to where we wanted it to be. But it came into the fold over time. We realized, Primitiv. What is Primitiv, and how does this associate with cannabis? Well, for thousands of years, people have been using cannabis for its healing power. So by nature, by definition, it's primitive. That's literal.
That even translates to us, because our name initially was FŌHSE. We were going to spell it PHOS, as in photosynthesis, and then copyright, trademark things, and team went back to the drawing board. Was like, okay, you got to adjust and pivot. But like you said earlier, having the right team around, where even in pivoting, who you're around is important, because if you have the wrong person, that pivot is going to turn into a pit real fast, and you're going to be stuck there. So went from PHOS to FŌHSE, and then we got the acronym to the future of horticulture, science, and engineering. So we're the future. Cannabis is Primitiv, so I mean it's very aligned.
Yeah, I look back on like some of those early like mock-ups of the first Primitiv logos and stuff like that, and they be spelled, man. It's just like Like, thank God that
Yes,
it happened,
thank
man.
God
'Cause
that
this
it
has been
happened.
horrible,
Thank God.
right? You know, we were just
Yeah.
so far away from where we needed to be and where we are now from a branding perspective. But
I
man,
still
oh
got,
man.
I still got one of those.
Yeah, I had one
man.
the other day, man. I just keep them around, just
Yeah,
remind me
just
how
keep it,
boneheaded
just keep it,
I
on
was.
your mind. Let you know where you come
Yeah,
from.
that's where we came from.
Right?
Came a
You
long
gotta
way.
do it.
It's one quote that I want to pull, Calvin, that I found that you said, all the energy, the pain, sweat, and tears that go into it, the amount that I had to put in to get me to where I had to play, it was more taxing on me physically and mentally than it was good for me. So obviously we have Primitiv. Cannabis is Primitiv. How would that quote relate into your playing experience and Cannabis's influence in that?
Cannabis's influence in that was, it got to a point that, not the cannabis was, it's helpful, but you still, I mean, after, you just dealing with pain, it zaps all the fun out of it. You're out there running and you don't have the juice because you got your ankle, your Achilles on fire, you can't push. It's no fun when you're playing with pain. Obviously, everybody deals with pain, but, when it comes and goes. But when you got chronic stuff that just don't go and you got issues that you got to deal with, a chronic swelling and stuff, I mean, that kind of limits you. And, it's almost like banging your head against the wall, just keep on trying to make it work. Because functionally, you can't work when you're swelled up and stuff all the time. So, yeah.
What about you, Rob? What was your experience with using cannabis as a player? Obviously, pulling that into launching Primitiv.
Yeah, so I mean, my story, the story I always tell. In 2008, I tore my pec when I was playing with the Seahawks. I missed all of 2008. I had surgery. I was coming out of surgery. I remember they handed me a script of oxys. It was like 40 pills of oxy, and it said take when you have pain. And for us, us people that play, we know you always have pain, right? You're always hurting. And I was, 25 years old, right? And I had a little money in my pocket, and I had nothing but free time, and I was living in Pacific Northwest, right? And I was single at that, right? So pretty dangerous to be able to go party and hang out and have these oxys at your disposal, and anytime you needed more, you can go get them. And I just decided then, right, first of all, I got a 6-month, recovery that I have to come back from, and I need to come back bigger, faster, stronger if I'm ever going to get a new contract and really get my career on the rails. But past that, right, I've heard the story. I'm like second generation NFL kid. My dad played for the Browns. My wife's father played for the Dolphins. Like, I've heard so many stories about guys that are going down the Oxycontin road and like where they are now, right? And I just knew I can't be there, So that's where cannabis stepped in for me, and I never looked back. I never took a pain pill after that. And then it was a pharmacy in the NFL. You can get what you wanted, and I just thought it was a little bit irresponsible, and just I had to realize you're responsible for your health and what you do, no matter what. So I thought the risk to smoke cannabis and possibly getting in trouble or fined and stuff like that was better than the alternative. Sure.
Yeah, because you're playing with your life at that point. You're already playing with your life on the field with playing properly and the natural casualties that come along with playing sports, with the rugged and the strenuous activity you put your body through. But then to put your body through the second leg of that as a way to recover is like an oxymoron. It's like, so I'm putting this in my body to recover. Yeah. However, in 10 years, I'm actually going to be hunched over with a walker and tennis ball.
Toxins.
It's like, it's toxic. It's like you really have to weigh the options. So it's like for you guys, I'm sure the emergence of cannabis around that time and how it affected you, that was the right plug to get you going, for sure.
100%, man. Cannabis was, it didn't just zap the pain away, but it made you more conscious. It took away the edge, and it made you more conscious of what's going on, I feel like, in your body. So you're just more conscientious of your body and the things that are going on there, instead of just numbing it to the pain. Because when you just numb it, there's no incentive to try to fix or go get to the source of what the issue is.
You just try to keep it numb versus cannabis is like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm good, but I'm uncomfortable, but how do I fix it?
Right.
Yeah, how do I fix it?
Yeah, that's important, I only ever played college ball, but I know you almost get treated like cattle, and your body's never 100%, throughout the season and stuff, and it's just, you kind of get used to ignoring it. And, pharmaceuticals, that's, everybody here has a story, whether it's themselves or somebody they know who had a negative experience with pharmaceuticals, especially when you extend it out over time. So it just makes sense to want to find a better solution. And come back to your body and be conscious of it versus ignore it. And like you said, relive a story that you've heard that you didn't like how it went.
Yep.
You know, quality of life is such an important factor.
Sure.
Especially, I mean, what the average NFL career is 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
You know, quality of life gets pretty important when it's short-lived like that. So,
And as you get older, you want your quality of life to improve. Like you want to be alive and well for your kids, for memories, because you don't spend all those years working hard and putting your body through that to not have any memory, any moment of enjoyment for it, you know, for the latter part of your career. So
Yeah, I think that's the, you know, if you ever hear some of our quotes there, we talk about like we're in the quality of life business, like we had that on our website and things like that, right? I think part of the things is like, you remember those old like Head and Shoulders commercials when the president or you know, Hair Club for Men commercials, the guy was like, you know, I'm not only a CEO, I'm also a patient or whatever. I feel like that's part of that's like woven into us, right? Like we you know, we create things and we try to build things around the fact that like we want, at least me personally, I want the next, you know, 30 years to be just as good as the last 30, if not better, right? So like, what are the things that are going to help me to get there, to make sure like, you know, I'm a good husband for my wife and a good father for my kids? Like, how do I make that happen, right? And I think cannabis is a big piece of that. Like, what's going to make that go to the next level? So that's where a lot of the passion and stuff comes from, man. Just we want to have the best quality of life.
I mean, when you think about that, takes me to changing the stigma of cannabis, and it takes passion to do that because there's some lashings that you worry about. You know, there's some, again, obstacles that you'll have to overcome. Obviously, being an athlete, most people look at it like, okay, he's going into another thing with business. And then you look at it like, well, I'm going into another thing to improve my life and those around me, you know, and really offering something that can live beyond both of you guys. Your employees, like cannabis will live on forever, but the fact that you're offering quality medicine to people like you, it's completely changing the stigma because it's like, well, man, if Rob and Calvin can do it and they can still move around and be successful and still be businessmen, why can't we? So it's not just changing the stigma, but it's inspiring people to go after the stigma. And usually it's the other way. You know, you do it in like such a quiet way. What has that battle been like for you guys? I know you've had challenges, but like talk about some of the uphill battles with the stigma of cannabis with you guys entering into the industry.
I feel like my biggest one was just with my family. Beyond my family, you know, I wasn't really concerned about what everybody was thinking because, you know, I felt like it was a passion of mine from the very long time ago, just to improve quality of life for people, for the masses in general. My mom showed me a little thing that I wrote when I was a kid, and I wrote something just like that to be able to help all the people or masses of people in the world, you know, and that's just stuff that we do then, but it's ingrained inside us to try to be great, to do great things. And that's one of the things that we're trying to do here. We have the opportunity to be able to create a quality of life for masses. And that's part of our mission. That's what's driving us. That's what drives us. That's what gives us passion through the obstacles that we go with. That doesn't deter us. It doesn't throw us off route because we have a vision. We have a mission. And that's just to create and be innovative in this industry. And like I say, create that quality of life for the people that we work with and do business with.
How do the people you work with, what's their response as Primitiv continues to make history and change the industry? Like, what's their response being a part of such a great vehicle that's driving towards change? Do you hear from them?
Initially, it's really just a celebrity rah-rah really at first, but we're starting to see, and Riley's so funny when he says it, you know, he's like, the message is penetrating.
They don't care about me anymore. They care about the
We're starting to hear people saying the things that we're saying, and it's really about wellness. And like, and I love it, and you can't really harp on quality of life enough because there's so many ways and different applications that cannabis can help people's quality of life that, you know, it's just beautiful to hear dispensary owners or even customers saying the things that we're saying and loving how we're approaching the business. So,
I mean, those are moments that are important. I mean, we look at what we do, obviously being a leader in the LED manufacturing, it's hard because you have competitors and you do have things that you have to overcome. But when customers start reciting, you know, the buy once, buy FŌHSE, we're like, oh, wait. They actually get it. Like it's actually clicking where it's like, okay, that's a part of an actual experience. We're not just saying it. It's buy once, buy FŌHSE. Oh, wait, I don't have to buy anybody else. No light bulb. So it actually starts connecting the dots. So it does make you feel like your efforts are actually working, like it is penetrating, like you said. Like, Londo, how was that for you, obviously, joining?
Well, I mean, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about it because it's easy to get caught up in, you know, going into the other grows and say, all right, I'm coming after you. And there's still a competitive angle to it, but at the end of the day, we all have that same vision, right? Yep. We know what cannabis can do for people. we want to help as many people realize that so they can have experiences like the ones you guys had, right? There's a different path. You don't have to go down that road of numbing everything and kind of turning off the signals. It's like, no, turn up the signal, but get in touch with it, right? And cannabis allows us to do that. So that's a big part of it. I really appreciate you guys saying that. And yeah, when it starts to get reflected back to you and you're like, oh yeah, they get it. I mean, that reminds you of why we're all here in the first place, right?
You set out to make change, and in the end, it always seems like a small goal when you start. Like, oh, nobody gonna care. It's like a little splash, and then when it starts growing, and you hear about, like for us, we meet so many companies that do care about their cannabis, but then my passion is for people who treat it as medicine, because obviously there are so many people, whether you're terminally ill or like you are, where you're athletes and you're in your post-career recovery and you're trying to find ways to adjust to that life. It's a lifeline for a lot of people. You know, they rediscover themselves, they rediscover passions because they actually aren't in pain anymore. So their quality of life does improve. How does that continue to keep you guys motivated, you know, through all the obstacles? Because you be like, okay, I'm done today. Then you think of that one person that's like, man, you're improving my quality of life.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's that. Well, I spoke about this yesterday. Whenever we go to the city council meetings, and you have half the room that's against cannabis and half that is as pro cannabis, and it's just those two stories that you hear, the tear jerkers, that are the ones when it's the cancer patient that's in remission because they're in stage 4, stage 3 cancer. They're in remission because the doctor told them they get your affairs in order. I don't have anything else for you to give you, and they turn to cannabis. You know, using whether it's a RSO, Rick Simpson oil, or what have you. You know, they've been able to fight it off, or even better, not even better really, but just as pronounced as when you have the kid with epilepsy, 30 seizures a day. Now they're using a cannabis, some kind of tincture or whatever. Some kind of application. Now they might not have any, or now they're down to 1 a day. Like those are like, that changes quality of life severely. It allows you to enjoy life. It allows you to have life back. So I mean,
or have a life you never had. It's like, man, I've never been to an amusement park before. I've been in pain my whole life. It's like, wait a minute. It's like you go to that adult and you're like that kid again, because like, okay, what can I do now that I wasn't able to do before?
Not to mention it impacts communities as well. I mean, that kid's family who has to take care of those 30 seizures a day as that goes away.
Financially, the financial burden of man, that's the part that just hit my brain.
Can you imagine that? Like cannabis versus prescription drug, like man.
Lasting effect. Other thing I think about too, obviously community, we're all guys, we're African Americans, right? I also appreciate you guys doing the work to change the stigma around cannabis within our community, because it's usually shown one way for so long. You see the outcome, and cannabis is usually an outcome. It's not something that progresses people or moves them forward. It's usually like, oh, he resorted to doing drugs, but you guys are actually at the start of the conversation with cannabis. How does that make you feel, knowing that you're positively reinforcing role models within cannabis? Because that's hard. Is having a role model in cannabis.
Yeah, you know, that's the one thing that I think like gives me like the most joy right now, right? Like, you know, we're going to speak on Cannabis yesterday, and, you know, we're going to do our pitch, and we're pitching our new Primitiv performance line, which, you know, really excited about that coming out. And, you know, the guy is sitting there taking our, you know, we're getting our badges and stuff. This black guy, you know what I mean? And he like, you know, get, you know, nothing. We're not even exchanging any conversation. He gives us stuff. He's like, man, y'all go take this thing over. You know what I mean? Like, and it just dawns on me that, you know, I turned the count and did my, it's penetrating because that is a big piece of it. We are so unique, right? Yeah. We're not only in a new industry, right? We're new to entrepreneurship. We're African American, and it's a team of them, right? Soon to be more than 2, right? So like that is powerful to our people, and the fact that we're authentic about it, right? We don't, you know, nothing you see is fake here, right? That is people are starting to see it, and people are going like, man, and looking up to us, and I'm just like, wow, like I didn't think it was here, right? I thought that's what's up. You know, I thought we was growing cannabis, and we were going to build a business, and we was going to help some people and stuff like that, but I didn't realize the whole cultural effect that we're having. That's
not from a celebrity perspective either.
The cherry.
You know, it's from a place where you guys, celebrities enjoy it because, I mean, of course, it's recreational. We enjoy the benefits of life and improving life, but you guys actually use it as actual healing property. I'm sorry. You guys actually use it as medicine. The other thing I think about with you guys changing the stigma is with expungement of records and seeing people that don't look like the ones that are in jail doing the same thing. So now it's like, okay, what are the conversations we're having now? Because before it used to be one-sided and it used to be one way. Now you have businesses, you have owners, you have athletes, and it's public now. So how does that continue to shape your mission forward, with improving?
I think that that's crucial for us, is being a part of programs and associations like LPP, Last Prisoner Project, just representing and being an advocate, using our platform and our voice. I mean, we have the platform, we have the position where we're in a position where people listen, and we have the opportunity. I feel like it's imperative upon us to be able to spread that word, about those that are incarcerated for what we are, making money off of right now.
Sit on the corner.
Some of the stories are people selling a pound. I'm looking like, damn, you just had a pound sitting right here on the counter, like just going around like it ain't nothing. And there's a story, people serving life for that. And just like, how? But there's, a lot of that has to do with, just legislation in certain states and how, offenders are treated, So, it's a lot of, tricky areas that makes it tough for LPP and people to get some of these folks out, because of that. But, you got to just keep pushing and just spreading the word and letting people know, because I think that the more you correlate the two and show like, hey, we're making money here, but this person's serving this, and you show this whole different sides of it, the more and more people will be like, oh shoot, that's not right. People just don't know, probably. I think that's a big part of it.
Right.
How did you guys come into, so now we talked about you're starting cannabis, obviously your start as athletes, transitioning into real estate and entrepreneurship into Primitiv, athletes, and then changing the stigma. Now, as it relates to partnerships with Primitiv, how do you guys go about identifying who you partner with, obviously after growing such individual brands?
Man, I mean,
I think we get offers all day, but
yeah, I think in the beginning, like everybody else in the industry, right, we were just so excited about business and growth and moving forward that we probably got into situations that we didn't need to get into, right, and be new. So I think when you get stung a couple of times, like you get back to your senses, and now we have a better vetting process, and we know to ask the right questions, right? I think we ask the questions a lot more and just in different ways, right? Because we're looking for something, right? Culture is something that's big to us, so we can pick up on some of those things, because we think ultimately that will lead to success, and I think a lot of it, man, is just finding people that are like-minded, right? That you can sit down at the table and break bread and have the real conversation about business and can respect what Primitiv is trying to do, right? And say like, okay, I could see myself fitting in that and helping and being a part of that. And partnerships are like marriage, right?
Yep.
There's a lot of pretty girls out there, right? But you only married one,
right? And the one that's for you is the question.
Yeah,
that's always the mission.
Who's for you?
You gotta make sure y'all evenly yoked, man. That's in marriage and in business. Like you say, it's just a marriage. You sign them documents.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not so easy. You can't just walk away.
You can't be like, hey, can I scratch that out real quick? Like, no, the ink's still dry. I gotta give you that back in a minute.
Yeah, you gotta make sure you're right. Yeah.
What about you, Calvin? How did you go about, obviously with this being new, for you as well, how was it having so many brands reach out to, man, we can help, we can get you this, and then obviously you partnering with us? How has that transition been?
Yeah, I kind of piggyback off what Rob said. So used to having so many things coming at you, and you sitting here trying to catch everything coming at you. And it wasn't really until we got our VMC in place and started using that as our filter that we were able to, one, let them, they'll come in, but we didn't have to respond to everything, just the things that, was in line with where we were trying to go. I think that's what helped us, to kind of feed through or fish through or filter through a lot of the noise.
For sure. Londo, when you think of FŌHSE, Primitiv, Calvin Johnson, Rob Sims, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Man, I'm thinking the future is bright. No pun intended. We bring the lights, but with a mission like yours and what FŌHSE can do. I mean, you guys mentioned you started out with one room. You saw enough of a difference to think, okay, what opportunities can this bring us, or what could this do if we scale up? And I'm kind of curious, so we know that the technology that we bring to the table can aid. It is technology at the end of the day, and it makes the most sense up front from a business standpoint, right? Dollars and cents. Can I make more using less energy? I mean, we talk about ROI and stuff all day, but I really get a kick out of hearing the mission statements and what this technology is contributing to, right? Because at the end of the day, it's a tool, and you can use a tool for good, you can use it for bad. But as you guys are, FŌHSE is now one of the tools of Primitiv and how you guys are using it. And now that you guys are expanding, like you said, you've gone vertical, things are going to get bigger and brighter with partners like us. We know that. I guess I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to get applied. Like you mentioned a new line coming out. What's next for Primitiv? Like where are you guys taking the vision next?
Yeah. I think it's a lot of different ways. Like to some of the stuff we were talking about, later. The future is bright, right? And I look at FŌHSE, and the first thing I asked was, what else do you guys do besides cannabis, right? Because I'm always thinking future, right? And I'm thinking like, what's next? And I'm looking at what we've been able to build here and all the stuff we were just talking about, right? And I see cannabis expansion, absolutely, but I see much more, like we're talking about urban farming in general and things like that, and especially in communities like where we come from and things like that. Like, what are really the possibilities, right, for that? And going to all these grows, all over the country and seeing like what it could look like, So, I look at that and I go back to like when we were making the decision for FŌHSE, right? We started like everybody else in the space, like, we don't want LEDs, they're not ready yet. The technology's not there, right? So we got the HPS, we got the Lux, and we got the shiny toy, right? And it was amazing to see when FŌHSE came in to room one, our first flower room, and like I said, I asked my team 10 different ways about the FŌHSE lights, and it kept coming back to the same thing: we got to have them, we got to get them, and you guys are as advertised, man. So when you find somebody like that you can help you stand up. The possibilities are endless. We got something here that can be mimicked in a 1,000 different ways, right? So where we take it is just up to the imagination.
Yeah.
I look at impact great because I also think about it like representation is key. So the more you see, the more you want to do. So it's a whole nother level of effect of what you guys are doing, because now people are like, I don't know how they got there, but I want to do it. I want to figure it out. So the level of influence and the level of inspiration is at an all-time high. And I mean, that still translates into products, because you want to be better than your competitor. They should inspire you. They should make you be like, damn it, I should have did that. Mm-hmm. And you go and do it, But as Londo spoke on earlier, you mentioned some of your new products. Let's talk about those. You have the performance line. What does that consist of? Is that product names? Is that specific strains? What does that consist of?
I mean, we've always talked about being more, authentic to ourselves and our brand, right? So Primitiv Performance is an opportunity for us to bring to mesh cannabis world and our athletic worlds together, right? And bring an authentic, different application to the market that, so using nanotechnology, right? So we partnered with the group SIP. It's SIP, CYP, Choose Your Protocol, where we can basically the processing part of our business is looking like nano emulsion. So our first couple of products, our first one is electrolyte drink, like liquid IV, or you will see it's our like version of Gatorade, so to speak.
Okay, yeah.
And then we have our topical, which I think our topical, man, I think it can compete with anybody's topical out there, like what we've done and how we've gone about it. And SIP's done a really good job of putting it together and some of the feedback we're getting. But we, especially this man right here, man, wrote the book on how to take care of your body in a Hall of Fame career, right? So we're going to build products that the masses are going to have that same Hall of Fame quality. But using, that's our processing piece. And flower in general, like I said, now, I think we've taken care of our home state of Michigan, and it's time for us to start venturing out to other places and see what's up.
Like you said, we're just trying to stick true to what we did with products that we use, hydration, topical creams that we use. And our differentiator is that high performance nano emulsion technology, breaking down that particle size so small, the active ingredients in cannabis, so that could mostly bypass the intestinal system for faster, more efficient and more bioavailable product to the consumer. So I think that is what definitely differentiates us in the space, is being able to bring those kind of products to market. Yes, they're coming to market. They're more prevalent on the West Coast. But I think what we're doing and the platform and the way we're bringing it to market, it really sets us apart.
For sure. Again, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just saying big time. I mean, you're getting into finer and finer minutia of how to use this technology, right? And different applications. And I think that's another synergy that Primitiv has with FŌHSE, because, you know, from a technology standpoint, it's like once you make the best light, it's always a moving target, right? You've got to evolve. And, you know, quickly after we built the light, we figured out we needed to have a horticultural team to help people learn how to use this new technology, right?
Yeah.
That's our
It's like,
responsibility too.
'Cause you can't just give somebody a race car that's twice as fast as any other one and say, all right, go have some fun,
Be
right?
like, you're gonna die in about 10 years. You will not make it back.
And so, you know, now we're getting into the minutia. And I've just seen the conversations evolve from convincing people this technology exists to getting to the point where you're diving into new areas that aren't typically talked about: crop steering, drybacks, and how to maximize terpenes and whatnot, which end up being the fuel for the products that you guys are talking about. So as we delve deeper into the technology and figure out how to get down to that minutia and like start to influence what the plant's doing and how to pull the maximum benefits out of the plant, that's going to be influencing the products that you guys make. And half of it is just telling your story. Like you said, you've got that great foundation in Michigan. The West Coast, who's got one of the most developed markets, they've got more wherewithal, right? They've got more of that education. So a big part of it we found comes down to educating people. And as you guys, I mean, you talk about that nanotech, man.
Yeah, we're excited about it, man. I mean, I think in the very beginning, just wide-eyed in the cannabis industry in general, and I'm just like, well, we have such a great opportunity here. Just throw everything you can at the wall and see what sticks. Part of that was Harvard and the International Phytomedicines Institute. I don't know how the two of us ended up in the back halls of Harvard, of all places. But we were back there watching rats get injected with CBD and THC. Like, wow, you're injecting rats. Oh yeah, we got to pull back the door and you saw all this other stuff that they're working on in phytomedicines in general. And the big thing around it was nano. Mm-hmm. It's the first place I heard nano. And it's like, we've been on a quest ever since that trip. That trip has been 2017, 18, something like that. Yeah. Ever since that, we've been on a quest, like, we got to get with this nano.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the future.
That's the future. We took, going back to partnerships, like we took a long time with our partnership with SIP, 2 years to get it right. And we were working on this project, and so just getting ready to launch in 2023. So, it's been something that's been brewing for a long, long time. So we're excited to see where it goes.
I was sitting here thinking too, it made me think quality LED, quality medicine, but it's great to hear from them. And I'm sure other athletes will appreciate the products too, because it's created by athletes for athletes. So you're thinking about how would they consume it? Mm-hmm. What's the easiest? What's the most beneficial? What's the most convenient? That's still reflective to FŌHSE, because when we take our fixtures, we look at who are we servicing and how can we service them the best? Is it horticultural experience you need? Do you need just getting a grower on the phone just to figure out how to get things right before you even apply LED? We create products with growers and cultivators in mind to ensure that they're reaching their maximum results. So knowing that we have that in line is great.
Yes, sir.
And it's I hear you guys talk about that too. Taking the time to develop the product the correct way. 2 years. It's interesting because I think it was 2 years that we spent R&D wise to really get the spectrums down for our flagship series of light, and it takes that patience.
Yeah.
And as much as it takes a vision and you saying, here's what we want to do, you got to balance that out with being reactive. When you run into new technology, like that trip in 2017 where it's like, oh, hold on. We got to incorporate that, right? So it's that, it really is a balancing act if you want to be successful, like, that like the pivot.
Yep.
You got to be reactionary to what's going on and say, okay, well, what are we going to do to reflect that or to incorporate that or
patient to not move, because everything you see is going to be like, oh, I want that. You're like, damn, I want everything. Now, what actually are we doing now? So it's like actually building something that's sticking to consumers is one thing, but I also think as entrepreneurs and business owners, the biggest challenge that I think we all go through is building something that we can stick with. Where it's like after 5 years, it's like, okay, this was fun, I made a good little money, let's sell that. But it's like actually sticking with it and it being a long suffering labor of love, because now you brought in family, you brought in employees, you've changed their lives, you've educated them, new opportunities. So it's scaled beyond just product. It goes beyond, it's actually scaling lives, scaling and saving.
Great point.
I'm hearing, just walking in. I mean, we walked around here for 20 minutes, right? So I'm just getting a little bit inside of the business, right? The one thing I picked up was we're talking about the chips, right? And how the Samsung chip is just not the cheapest chip, right? And the fact that you guys were intentional about that, right? And I think that's where we are with Primitive Performance. Like, we know what we want, right? Folks said, I want to make the baddest light on the market. They did that. I'm putting these ingredients into it, and I think that's where we are with Primitive Performance, right? I think the companies that are really intentional about what they want to do and how they go about their business, I think those are the guys that'll last the war.
Sure, absolutely.
Right. So, I think very similar to how you guys' story is. You know what I'm saying? We want to be the best. We want it to be the most polished. It has to be that.
Sure.
Right. So,
And authenticity is what gives you that staying power.
Right.
That's how we know we're going to be long-term partners, is because you guys included that authenticity right from the start. That's what allows you to, 5-10 years down the line, be able to stick with it. It's because it's still you.
Amen.
Right?
Amen to that.
And they have a team of passionate people. When we were there this summer, I mean, when you walk in, actually Rob was getting out the car. We were in the car trying to pull our stuff together. I think King was with me. And then he gets out the car, he's walking in. Then shortly after, Calvin comes in, and the staff and everybody that you've kind of, like you said earlier, the culture that you guys have been able to cultivate. We saw some of the guys yesterday. They love what they do. And we love what we do here. And that says a lot about leadership, but that also says a lot about the people that you hire, how they take the charge and run with it like it's theirs. Like, I want you to treat it like it's your business, because that ensures when I'm not around, I have some people that are dependable and accountable to it.
It's beautiful, you hear your teammates, when we're able to, do stuff for them, and you hear them like, I'm primitive for life. And then what you think that you did, or what you did to you might not have been that much. It's been like, whatever, but for them to come and be like, I'm primitive for life. And we're hearing that, like, obviously it's just, it's for an owner of a company for your team members to come and tell you something like that. When we got into this thing, we visualized ourselves like perhaps like a head coach, GM head coach, and you got your team, and for the most part, those guys aren't your favorites, but I think that the way we were trying to be fair, firm but fair, and hold our team compassionately accountable. They see that. They realize it's different from other places that they've been, where they would just get the axe if they do something. We're trying to have that conversation to help you grow. We're not going to put up with mess, but at the end of the day, we're about growth, and we can't grow if our team doesn't grow. And we understand that in order to grow, you got to go through some stuff.
Sure.
And then we've been through some stuff, and we're obviously going to continue to do that. But I think that, we got to, like I said, I always go back to our leaders on our team, man. We've been through some stuff together, and they know how we operate, and that's why they say those things. Primitive for life.
I always say leaders raise leaders. Your coach is never your favorite, but I always feel like the best leader is one that was once a follower, because you always know what you needed. Like, man, I wish it was a little warmer here. Who can I talk to? But then when you're a leader, you consider all that. Like, okay, she may not be having, how do I corral this team to ensure that not only am I leading well, but I'm also creating a group of leaders? Because of course you don't want to lose team members, but you want them to go on and go beyond you, but you want to make sure that they're representing you, and what you've given them shines bright when they go. That's super important. Before we get out, I know it's been a quick while. We will continue more of this chat. Next time, we will actually take this chat to Primitiv in Michigan, so we can give you guys more of a backside story on what they have going on, so you can see their facility even more. For those of you that haven't seen it, please go to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/FŌHSE, and look up the Primitiv highlights. They will give you a brief story of kind of where they are now and what they have ahead. But for those that want to learn more, how can they get in contact? Social media, website?
PrimitiveGroup.com, and then @Primitiv Group is our Instagram. We got Twitter still? Is that still a thing?
I think we got Twitter.
Right. Twitter's the thing, right? Well, this day and age, like, guys, that's still Twitter. Yeah. But don't think
that Elon gonna cancel this.
Right. We'll take that. All right. Then my account will be gone. Or you have 4 verified accounts talking like it. Either way it goes. It's like, I didn't say that. But for those, again, that missed it, it is www.com. That is primitivgroup.com. www.primitivgroup.com. On Instagram, @Primitiv Group. On Twitter, @Primitiv Group. And if you can't find it, type it in, you'll get somewhere close to it. For those that are tuning in, we thank you. We hope you guys have watched this episode. This is super duper special and dear to FŌHSE, as this is a partner that we really, really look forward to. We have to shout out our additional partners, Jim Belushi, and Belushi's Farms. We have to thank Green Bodie, who's visiting us today. But then more than anything, we have to thank the Primitiv guys, because they came, no security, no staff. This is a real deal business relationship here, and we really, really look forward to the future and what we can create, because there's some great things on there right there. So thank you guys.
Right on. Thank you, fellas.
For those tuning in, Londo, thank you for sitting in. It's always, you never know who you may see sitting in this seat. You've seen Mike, you've seen Ben, you've seen Brett, but today we have Londo, and you will see more of him. You will see more of the Primitiv guys. But in the meantime, be sure to tune in every Thursday at 1:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on FŌHSE.com. That's www.FŌHSE.com, FOHSE.com. All right. See y'all soon. Rob, Calvin, Londo. Appreciate it.
Thanks, fam.
Appreciate it.
Take it easy, y'all.